Welcome back, everyone. You found it, the Balanced Warrior podcast. This is where we talk about health, we talk about wealth, we talk about fitness, career, family. How do you fit it all in? Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. We call it living a life of multi-dimensional success. I'm here today with Coach Paul. I'm Coach Mike, and we're going to be giving you another great episode full of gold nuggets and practical tips that you can apply to live a balanced warrior life. Coach Paul, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Grateful to be here. Thanks everyone for tuning in and listening in. It's always going to be like the best information ever because it's just you and I right now. We don't, we're not Burlow here right now. So it works out.
Well, the balance in the balanced warrior is that there's three of us, and that in order to maintain balance, one of us needs to not show up and go travel the world. And of course, we're given a hard time to
let's score points, see who's winning.
To Coach Chris.
Depends on who's winning what area of life.
That's right. That's right. So balance is dynamic. And so we're rocking and rolling in our business, and then we're unplugging and taking lots of time away from our business. And that's what Coach Chris is going on right now. Just real quick, where the heck in the world is he? Is he in Mexico right now? I think he was in Mexico.
Away in Mexico, and then he flew there to, I think, Florida because my goddaughter, Kimberly, I think, is graduating in Tampa. I think she's graduating school.
Okay.
Like a CPA or something like that, some kind of accountant. So I think he went from one destination to another.
Wow. Yeah, lives out of a suitcase sometimes. Yeah, Chris is a world traveler. I know you've got a trip coming up though. You're going to be going international, right?
Well, 25 years married, September, so we're going to Italy for the first time. This is the first time I'm taking 2 weeks off.
Wow.
Since we got married. I don't think I've ever taken 2 weeks. I mean, I have entrepreneur ADD. Like I'm like 3, 4, 5 days in. I'm like, all right, yeah. I'm good. I gotta
right.
go with it.
Right. Well, you'll love it. My wife and I did that for again. One thing that we like to brag about in a good way is that all the Balanced Warriors have over 20 years of marriage. Coming up on 30 for my wife and myself. Paul, you and your wife again coming up on 25.
25 married, 29 together.
And I think Chris and Kathy are actually even longer than me, right? I think they're over 30 years already, right? Which is unbelievably unusual. But let's pivot from that. Again, this balanced warrior concept, we talk about achieving across all different areas, health, fitness, relationships, but it is in every one of those areas. We just talked about milestones, right? Those long-term successful marriages. But whether it's income, whether it's business success, whether it's health success, we happen to be also martial art masters. That's the correct terminology, and grandmasters in yourself, with, over, 35, 40 years of martial arts experience. But everybody starts pretty much from zero, right? That's the beginning that's got to be the beginning of the climb. And we want to talk about today, setting the right expectations for yourself, how to have the mindset that starting from zero is okay. Maybe progress more than perfection. Why don't I let you jump into that a little bit and seeing what you see with the, personal development clients that you coach and the high achievers that you coach, what we're seeing these days and what people need help with these days about the start from zero mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. We're martial art people. I quit apparently. But every grandmaster was a white belt. I had a mentor, T. Harv Eker. He wrote a book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I did a lot of training sessions with him. And one of his things that he used to say is every master was once a disaster. Mm-hmm. Every hero was once a zero. Everyone starts off at zero. Everyone starts off at white belt. Everyone starts off with no clients. Everyone starts off with earning no money. Everyone starts off, like I remember vividly, even with exercise and training, whether it's in the gym. I remember I couldn't even, the bar was like the thing, I couldn't wait to get to, the 45-pound plates, and then the 225. And then finally you're at the 3 plates, the 315 and above. And I feel like a big boy, but every person in the gym didn't start benching, 3 plates each. Mm-hmm. Even when I got into endurance training, I couldn't run a mile. Like the only reason I started to run was to be competitive in this competitive flag football league to build up my stamina. And then I got the the itch, and I started building more miles, and it was one thing led to another. And let me go run this 5K, let me run this half marathon, let me do this triathlon, and I'm sure just like you, just like your wife, in cycling and stuff, we all start at zero.
Mm-hmm.
And, I talk a lot about this concept of like law of gestation, right? Like how long, like things take to a seed that's planted takes time to manifest into a plant, right? Or into the tree, so we all start off at white belt, and, we can't get frozen. And there's a lot of paralyzing paradigms, especially with younger advisors or younger entrepreneurs that are kind of getting into a business or an industry. And, they have a lot of limiting beliefs that hold them back to actually start. Dan Sullivan's from Strategic Coach. He says it's progress, not perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to stack activity. You got to stack small wins.
Mm-hmm.
You got to stay out of what Dan Sullivan calls the gap. And the only way we do that is by, attacking the day, right? Attacking the day to the best of our ability, focusing on action steps that accumulate and build that muscle, right? And stack those wins. So you got to start from ground zero. You got to take the first step, and you can't let anyone else, it's a lot of times is no one's going to know that you're putting in the work until you start getting the results.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you got to put in the time, you got to put in the reps, and you got to keep going. And if you don't do that, you'll be paralyzed and you'll always be behind, and you'll feel like you're never, you can never take that action,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I want to just unpack a little bit of what you said. And I think one of the most valuable elements, first of all, again, having this long-term view. I mean, name everybody, again, read any person's biography, any successful person, politician, entertainer, athlete, or whatever. And 99% of the time, maybe 99.9% of the time, you're going to hear in that story their version of struggle, their version of difficulty, or their experience with struggle or difficulty, and recognize that their end point, their outcome success came from consistency, right? More than from some sort of special talent. No question. If you're the best in the entire world, hey, we've got to give some recognition. There is some difference in capabilities, but there are high achievers who struggle with ADHD or struggled with reading. There are high performing athletes in professional leagues who lack the muscular strength or the endurance or the flexibility when they first got started. And it was the consistency that got them there. But one of the things that I really want to emphasize that you already said was the small wins, right? I mean, it's as diverse as I want to lose 50 pounds. And that's a year process, let's say, to really do probably healthfully, health in a healthy way and properly. And, the first time that you don't eat a dessert, or the first time that you get up 15 minutes earlier and tie your sneakers and walk around the block one time, you have to be like big time celebration to motivate yourself with the habit. And how do we know this works? Because every young person that's walking around that can speak was told the first time when they said "ma" or "da," people went out of their minds like, oh, he said daddy, he said mommy, and they gave lots of encouragement to that baby child, that you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Keep it up,
Well, I mean, so you're still active more in the martial art industry. So, when you're teaching 3, 4, and 5-year-old kids, like every little thing is a win, right? So a kid to stand straight, good job. I love your focus. When they do, the first kick, it's not perfect, but what you're doing is you're highlighting the little things where a little kid's like, that's easy. That's easy. So I'm sure you all do the same thing, but whether you're, I was an active martial art professional or I'm coaching financial advisors now, we're all just kids, big kids now, right? So whether they're a little child in a martial art uniform or a big child in a suit, it's all the same human psychology. So let me tie this back in. So we would sit down and I would literally on our wall and I'm sure you do too, had a decal. My goal is to become a black belt instructor, master, and grandmaster. Subconsciously, we're reverse engineering their identity. I know in the financial services industry, when I coach people, they have like these club levels. I go, hey, you're working with Coach P. Here's the deal, man. I'm going to treat you just like you're my martial arts student. People are like, oh, wait, isn't black belt like the best? I'm like, no, man. You see that little 6-year-old girl who's been training for 3 or 4 years? She's a black belt. That's the beginning. So in their industry of financial advisors, I'm speaking their language, they have like these levels of production, or levels like in black belt, right? Or in martial arts. Black belt level is what I call leaders club production. Instructors like what I call executive level production. The master level is what they call president's council. Grandmasters like chairman's council. So I go, hey, here's the deal. Your goals become leaders club producer, executive club producer, president's council producer, chairman's club producer. But dude, that could be 10, 15 years down that path.
Right. So
I give them the big vision, but then I reverse engineer it. Right. So now I go, all right, so this is a, black belt 3 years, instructor could be 5 to 6 years, master could be 10, grandmaster this, like you just shared, like you're going for your grandmaster, this weekend, how long you've been training, man, like years and years. Well, that's like someone in the industry that's a chairman's level. They're a grandmaster in the business. But what do we do when we sit down? We give them the big picture and we break it down in chunks. It's like, hey, Michael, so yeah, your goals become black belt in 3 years, but here's what we're going to do. Let's just say, we're sitting down and it's May, right? And your short-term goal, over the next 3 months is to go for your yellow belt. So by June, July, by August, you're going to be going for your yellow belt, and then November, you're going to go for orange belt. And so what we do is we're breaking it down to quarterly metrics or belts. Right. And I do the same thing in my clients. I give them a yearly or 3-year metric. I break it down to quarterly goals, kind of like earning a belt every 3 months. But watch what we do there. I go, hey, in the first month of you training, you're going to earn this red stripe. And the second month, you're going to probably earn your green and your blue stripe. And your third month, you're going to earn this white stripe. Once you earn all 4 stripes, now you qualify for that, that yellow belt. Same thing. We have a quarterly metric. If they've got to do, $1 million of production or premium, I chunk it down to quarterly metrics. Then I break it down to monthly metrics, like what's the stripe that they're going to earn or the metric they're going to earn, right? And then what I have to do, like even today, I sent a video out to this Top Gun team that I'm working with. It's just a group of like financial advisors that are like handpicked from an agency that I'm working with. And I'm shooting them videos at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, today's Friday. Most people can be playing golf, taking the day off, half days. Champions, they attack the day. They attack the morning. What are you going to do to finish out your week, finish out your day? So then I have to do is I chunk it down like you're in class. Today's focus is we're going to learn this kick and we're going to focus on this board break. And now they have a long-term goal. They have quarterly metrics to earning belts. They have monthly tip tests that they're focusing on. But our weekly theme is this. But today's class, here's what we're going to focus in on. And we break it down into winning the class or winning the day. When you focus on stacking small wins, like the objective in a class to earn a stripe, to learn this technique, or to, practice this thing in a martial art class, or a financial advisor going, what have you done this morning to win your morning, to win your workout? What are you going to do today to, close some business, to attack some prospecting lists? What are you going to do today to fucking win your day? And then it's not about just, trusting the process, which I do believe in that, but it's attacking. That's what my new coach says, attack the process. I say attack the day and win the day. When you're winning the day and you're doing that over and over again, you're going to win the week and you're winning the month. You're winning the quarter. When you do that, now you're creating habits to fucking win and get results. People get, you don't just get to that success mountain. Someone in the gym that's jacked just didn't wake up and was jacked. Everyone's got habits. the fat person, with all due respect, just didn't wake up fucking fat. They
Mhm.
worked real hard to stack
Right. There were consistent
fat.
daily action towards that goal of
And the
assuming
same thing,
more mass. That's right.
imagine.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And again, everything that we teach in Balanced Warrior and why it's a multi-dimensional success strategy is that these things are consistent, right? You didn't wake up with a bad marriage. You didn't wake up out of shape. You didn't wake up, financially unsuccessful, particularly if you've been at work for a number of years, right? It was a series of habits, a series of consistent steps that led you to where you are. The great news about all of it, it's never a bad time to start moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
Everything that Paul was just emphasizing about having a bigger goal and walking it back. Again, what I think we do well in martial arts and what you've then translated to doing for your coaching clients is, we do put the bigger vision in front of them, but we say, but for now, let's just focus on this. And the beginner that tries to do the move of the advanced student injures themselves or becomes demotivated because they can't do anything that looks the same or feels the same like that other person. And if we coach them properly, we say, no, here's what we want you to do. And yes, we celebrate that current level of success. Now, in order to have them grow, once they do achieve a level of success, we raise the expectation, and then we raise the expectation. The same thing with the vocabulary. When your child says, "Wah, wah, wah," right? You're like, "Wow, they want water. This is great." But when they're 8 years old, if they're going, "Wah, wah, wah," you're gonna say, "Wait a second. They need to pronounce those words better. They need to communicate more clearly." So we raise the expectations over time. The other thing that I've always emphasized is, whether we're teaching someone or directing ourselves, we have to always maintain the motivation to take action. And so if you went in the gym and you had some kind of private trainer and they put all the weights they put on were too heavy for you for the entire thing, and you could barely do them and you got a little injury and you're so sore the next day, then you never go back.
No.
Right? And
So
then therefore there's no progress.
That's a great point. There's a woman I'm working with, and yeah, she's an advisor, but one of her areas of life is health. And she's like, "Listen, coach," and we were mapping out her goals, and she goes, "I really want to get my health in order. I want to lose 30 pounds." So I said, "Okay, great." I said, "Are you currently exercising?" "No, coach. I'm afraid of the gym, all this stuff." So I just created this game. I have this momentum action plan where we have like a point system, right, for accountability, right? And so I said, we're going to focus on a 15-point day. That's it. Just focus on a 15-point day. And we're going to have 3 action steps that I'm going to ask you to do. And I need to meet you where you're at. Is that fair? She said, "Yes, coach." I said, "Cool." I said, "Can you drink 80 ounces of water a day?" And she paused. She goes, "Yeah, coach, I could do that." All right, good, cool. Drink 80 ounces of water. That's a 5 points in the health department. We're looking for 15 points. She's like, "Okay, coach." I said, "Can you walk 30 minutes a day?" "Yes, coach, I could do that." All right, cool. That's your second action step. That's your second rock, right? So drink 80 ounces, walk 30 minutes. And I did her calculation on her. I have a formula. And I said, "Can you eat under 2,000 calories a day? Here's this app, MyFitnessPal, can help you track it. Just make it easy. Just macro numbers." And she goes, "Yeah, coach, I could do that." I said, "Great." So each week she's sending me her accountability. "Coach, I did this, this, and this. Good job. You won your day, 15-point day. You're winning your day?" "Yeah, coach." "Winning your week?" "Yeah, coach." Then literally because I do 2 calls a month, probably like the second or third call going into, like, this is 2, 4, maybe 6 weeks in. She goes, "Coach, guess what?" I go, "How'd you do? What's your accountability?" She goes, "Coach, I'm down 6 pounds." "Well, I'm so proud of you. How do you feel?" "I feel so good. I'm more confident in my presentations. I'm talking to people with more energy. I feel better about myself." Because, that's confidence is key, right? All we're doing is stacking the wins. It was making her feel like she's winning the day. And I was meeting her where she's at. And know what she says to me next call? "Coach, I know I told you 30 pounds was my goal. I think I want to make it 60.
Wow.
All we did was, like, then I would go, "Hey, you want to add another rock in there. So instead of 5, 10, 15, it's more like, we get like, let's get like a fourth or fifth action step in there, and let's make 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, let's say, 3 points each, and get like 5 in there, 5 new habits. She goes, yes, coach, let's do that. And all we started to do is simplify it, right? By winning the day, winning the week, meeting her where she's at, stacking the wins. And what did that do? That built confidence.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. And so I got to get this in there, because I think one of the things I think we do pretty well on this is we always talk about what goes wrong or how we respond to wrong, right? Everybody that succeeds at a high level, we think all the green lights show up for them all the time, and oftentimes it's the opposite. So even though that's a great story of things going right, what if 2 weeks from now or 4 weeks from now, either of two things, she says, oh, you know what? I got into a little fight with my husband, and I was a little frustrated and angry. And when I went to lunch, I was meeting a friend for lunch, and you know what? Next thing I know, I'd had cheesecake, and I'd had, some, a big entree, and I've had 4,000 calories for the day.
Yeah.
And then I went up the next day, and I was doing my 30-minute walk. I guess these are two different things. One's kind of fallen off the wagon of the action plan. And then the other one is I was doing my 30-minute walk, and I saw the woman from down the street, and she ran past me, and she's, fit, like got a body like a goddess. And she ran back, and I thought to myself, man, what the heck am I doing? I'm nowhere close. Right. Let's talk about, she didn't say that to you. Again, she's on track, but we also have to deal with those kind of things, or those situations happen. People fall off the wagon, or they start doing comparisons to somebody else that's further along than they are. How do you coach that?
So everyone's different. This one particular person, I'm a little like the female client I'm talking about, I would be a little bit more building her up a little bit, because every client's different. I had a text this morning from one of my clients, right? And same thing, I got on a routine, and this is a high level advisor. Like, he's a 7-figure income earner. Like, so he's super successful in that realm. And we're getting back, the multi-dimensional success. He's like, yo, coach, I've been off track with my daily, which basically means he's not scoring his points, right, on his activity. And he's supposed to text me every day what he's going to do for accountability. So I sent him this thing. You better get back on it, get uncomfortable. That's where real men are born. And I said, I could say this to him. You sound like you are a wussy, but I didn't say it like that. Okay. That's my style. Like, anyone, not a lot of people get away with it. I go, remember who the F you are. What are you going to do today? Attack and win your day. Champions finish the week strong. I don't give a shit if it's Friday or not. And then I sent him a picture while I was at the gym pointing at him. And he goes, thanks, coach. Like, I got to treat everyone a little. He's a fighter, this guy, so I can push him a little bit and challenge him. And a fighter, I know when I challenge a fighter, they're going to push back. They need that. The other type of person, I'd be like, hey, it's all good. How'd you do overall the week? Then I focus on the week. She goes, well, coach, I had 3 or 4 out of the 5 or out of the 7. I'm like, hey, you won the week. Let's focus. Just start today. Start today. What are you going to do to get back in momentum? Drink my water, coach, get my 30 minutes of walking in, and just stand at 2,000. I said, well, you might want to add a consequence in there because you had a crappy day before. I need one extra thing that's a consequence that's slightly painful that can still spearhead your outcome. So I'll be honest, like we let's just say on Easter weekend, right? Let's just say I was a little off, and I typically don't eat dessert or whatever it is. And I had dessert, whatever, and I felt bloated and swollen the next Monday, Well, what I did was I did like a cleanse that day. You know what I mean? I decreased my caloric intake. I eliminated 1 or 2 meals. I added two or three shakes in my day. And I made sure I went back to the gym, and I did like, 500 calories with my weighted vest on my incline. That might have been a little outside my comfort zone, but that was my consequence for me falling off track, the day before, And so what ends up happening is, you got to just give yourself grace, focus on, where you're at, and just guess what? You woke up today, you get to choose. Just
Right.
start again. Start
Yep.
right now. What are you gonna do? Like I asked that guy Dave, I'm like, what are you gonna do today? What do you do right now? I don't give a shit if it's Friday. What do you do today to finish strong?
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And
Yep.
recentering. Like any coach, man, even if you're down, like, if you're watching the Knicks playoffs right now against Boston, if my boy Jan's watching or listening, how do you like those apples? But listen, man, they were down 20 points both games, and they were fighting and fighting and fighting and keep on moving forward. And they came back twice, in that series. I love watching that level of sports because it shows shifting a momentum. It shows consistent persistency, little wins. Let's get a stop. Let's get a rebound. Let's get a score. That's what you're supposed to do in a huddle, is just shift the momentum, get a small little win.
That's right. That's right. Yep. I mean, I just want to interrupt you there because you're exactly right. Again, I'm not a sports fan, but I've obviously watched enough sports to know that the team that's down 15, the team that's down 3 touchdowns or whatever, when they get that touchdown, when they get a 3-pointer, they start going, we're doing it. We're going in the right direction. And the actual team gets that excited, that pumped up, because they know that getting excited about that momentum, or, hey, we are moving in the right direction, is something to celebrate. Right. And then that celebration fuels the further action. Obviously, you pointed out that whether it's a coach or whether it's, again, doing some self-direction. Hey, we're big fans of coaches, right? We are paid coaches for other people, and we pay coaches. We talk about the numbers once in a while, not to brag, but to talk about the level of commitment. I coach other people how to run their martial arts schools. Also, within the last few months, I wrote a check to another martial art coach for $12,500 for 1 call a week, because I thought it would give me ideas that would help me with my school. So we believe in coaching as clients. We believe in coaching for ourselves. But even for the part where you're self-direct yourself in the right way. So maybe some people need to yell at themselves and punish themselves. Hey, I know that's not me. I know I got off track. And now it's midnight and I'm so upset with myself, and I'm going to go outside and do a run around the block or whatever to make up for what I did. That's fine. If that's the person and that's how you're wired. And if somebody else, like, hey, okay, it was a stressful day. I know why things fell apart. Tomorrow's another day, and I'm going to go in the right direction. So I got out of what you were saying, hey, the voice that coaches you has to be the right voice for you, but either one will tell you, start now, and I've never been touched by it. I've know other people who have been, but even when they talk about alcoholism and they say that the moment somebody says, hey, I know I need to go and get help, they say, you go to a meeting today. And if you fall off the wagon while you're an alcoholic and you make an issue and you say, okay, we need to go to a meeting today. In other words, we must do something as soon as possible that moves us in the right direction. So if you find yourself at you've eaten half a cheesecake, the next move that you do, when you throw that cheesecake in the trash and walk outside and walk around the block one time, you got, okay, I'm moving in the right direction. So again, finding, I don't want to say the happy place, but finding the mindset that lets you take the right action is everything. Because again, the actions stack up the mindsets don't stack up. Mindset is unbelievably important. We talk about that, but if you have a right mindset and no action, there's still no change in results. So it is all about, where do I have to be in my head to take action? And if I need to, I even heard about mantras that, some people can use the same mantra all the time, but they said, hey, just like any other marketing slogan or whatever, maybe your mantra, gets faded over time and you need to change to something else. What is it? Maybe hear something new from some athlete or some podcast or whatever, but what's going to move you to action to do things differently that move you in the right direction? I mean, it's such a old quote, right? But the journey of 1,000 steps, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Yeah. The question is, the step is in what direction, right? And as soon as you get it going in the right direction, you got to celebrate that.
Yeah, exactly. So I know we have there's a short little burst of a podcast. So we're going to finish with action steps or value bombs for everyone to kind of implement.
Yep.
So one of my suggestions, if I was coaching everybody that's listening right or watching right now, I would go like, here's the deal. What are you going to do today to win your day in your respected areas of life? And let's keep it simple. Most of the people we work with is core four. There's some kind of business or production, health or fitness, intimate relationships, or family, like their kids, right? So I would ask everyone, choose three action steps today that can move the needle forward in that area of life. And it's almost like have this mindset of like, how am I going to win the day? You're going to score 15 points in each quadrant.
Yep.
Right. So like in fitness, like let's take that, the client Vanessa's, one action step, drink 80 ounces of water, 30 minutes of walking, stay under 2,000 calories. Once she does that, she wins her day, 5, 10, 15. In business, let's just say, it's, an hours of prospecting calls, scheduling this, whatever it may be, or outlining, who you're going to contact, whatever the three main rocks are to win your day.
Yep.
Maybe, with your spouse, it's like a simple action step. This morning I had tea with Gina. I made her her little Charleston low acidic coffee, before she left for the house. And then, we usually do like a little text each other. And I'm not going to tell you what we text each other, but like those are like three little habits. And then it's a win. For our kids, it could be like last night, I FaceTime Kiana. I send my kids these like inspirational Instagram videos, daily, because that's how they communicate digitally. What am I going to do to focus, like intentionally focus to win my day in those four quadrants?
Yep.
Just keep it simple. 3 simple action steps per area, 5, 10, 15. And at the end of your day, go, how'd you do, Mike? Yo, I won my fitness today.
Right.
I scored 15 points. I won my intimate relationship with my wife. I scored 15 points. I won time with my kids, 15 points. Yo, I did these 3 main action steps in my business, 15 points. And then you feel like you've what? You've won.
Yep.
And that is a confidence builder. It creates momentum. And then what happens is you create that intentional focus around attacking and winning your day. And that compounds. And you're not thinking about $1 million of production or premium. You're reverse engineering and just compounding. It's like, get the first down. Let's make a play. Let's make a stop. And you're doing that. And over time, every inch creates victory.
Beautiful. Love it. That's, again, there's the value bomb and the takeaway from today. If you enjoyed today's podcast, you should probably be walking away from it deciding, hey, in the areas of my life that are most important to me, what are 3 specific things, not thoughts or minds, but what are 3 specific actions that I could take that if I was to take consistently would move me in the right direction? And then over time, the 30-minute walk becomes a 15-minute walk and a 15-minute jog. An hour of prospecting becomes, 2 hours of prospecting, or whatever it is in your business that's relevant to grow that business. There's just a lot of wisdom. And again, from Coach Paul, a lot of experience in using that as a proven method to improve your outcomes in all areas. Right. Well, Coach Paul, I want to thank you, of course, some great stuff today. And to everybody listening to us, again, Balanced Warrior Podcast, we will continue to bring you strategies to help you live that life of multidimensional success. We do talks like this. We do interviews with high achievers in all different fields. If you enjoyed this, like us, subscribe, come back again and again, and share it with other people. We're on a mission to help more people enjoy a more robust life with happiness in all areas. Thanks for joining us.
Be blessed.